Hi everyone, so I've just finished Trouble by Non Pratt. Now I read Truth or Dare I think a week or two ago and I really loved it. So I went into Trouble thinking this is a great concept. Hannah is smart and funny, she's also 15 and pregnant. Aaron is the new boy at school, he doesn't want to attract attention. Why does he offer to be the pretend dad to Hannah's unborn baby? I thought this is interesting. I hadn't seen books on teen pregnancy for a while, and I thought, I'm really interested to see what Non Pratt does with this, as I really love Truth or Dare. I kind of feel, having finished the book, a little bit uncomfortable, and I'm just trying to figure out really whether that's the intention of the author or not. It's a bit of a tricky one. The novel's in dual point of view, so we've got Aaron and Hannah's narration alternating throughout the story. And as in Truth or Dare, I felt that worked really well, and both characters had very distinct voices. There's just a couple of issues that I can't get over with this book, and I think one of them is the presentation of sex. Now, I think the book is brave in its portrayal of teenage promiscuity, but to me there is a line of responsibility somewhere that there needs to be consequences for that promiscuity, and the consequences of that are not just in unwanted pregnancies. The consequences are far more wide-reaching than that. And I do feel like the book acknowledges that girls are trying to be liked by others, girls are trying to assert themselves, and they're not making wise decisions. And, it's totally realistic to have a book about teenage characters who make bad decisions. That is the nature of teenage life. You have the growing adult desires for the things that adults do, but you don't have the emotional maturity and sense of responsibility yet. This book takes it a little bit further because of the twist of the story. Now, I have to say I did guess the twist very early on, so it wasn't a surprise to me when the father of the baby was revealed. However, it has some really difficult issues for me with consent, and the fact that Hannah is 15 means that even if you have two people who are consenting to sexual intercourse, it doesn't mean that it's okay, like if they're underage and she's underage. So on the part of the boy, it was just wrong on so many levels. He took advantage of her, he accepted her consent but didn't really think through the fact that she was underage and his own responsibility. He was in a position of trust, and this is a bit of a spoiler, he's her stepbrother, so again, very troubling relationship there. Very troubling abuse of his position in her life, and incestuous. And to be fair, I just didn't really feel the book dealt with that. I felt like because the book was about the twist of it being the stepbrother, the book didn't really explore how wrong that was on so many levels and what had happened to her. And it was realistic to me that she felt like she was in love with him. She wanted him to change his mind about her, but it didn't really, because we didn't really get to see the conversations that she had with her parents after revealing the truth. We didn't really get to see her parents' actions to, hopefully, one would hope, they would act really decisively to protect her. They would give consequences to this older brother. They would get counselling, work through things. And we didn't see any of that because the story drew to a very abrupt ending. The father was revealed, the parents were told, the baby was born, and that was the end of the book. So it was very abrupt. It was super kind of cut off, and it felt like there were a lot of troubling issues that weren't resolved. What was going to happen to Hannah? Yeah, we know she was allowed to stay with her parents, but how was she going to manage as a teenage mum? And in a sense, I know that's another story, but to me, she got through the pregnancy very glibly. Her decision to keep the baby is good to see somebody making a really hard decision in a sacrificial way because basically she doesn't show you the thought process that much, and I don't think it's very well developed, because it isn't really that Hannah is pro-life as such. She doesn't say that she believes life begins at conception. She doesn't seem to believe that. But she does say later on in the book, you know, whatever I've done and whatever's happened to me, it's not my baby's fault, and therefore my baby deserves to live. I think what's hard for me reading this is that one of my best loved and one of the first young adult novels I ever read is Burley Doherty's Dear Nobody. And this was probably my first experience of YA literature back in the day. When I found that book in the library and I was a teenager, I just loved it to bits, and I borrowed it so many times. And to me, it's a story of, you know, two teenagers who are in their final year of A-levels, applying for university, and the girl gets pregnant, and it's about the journey they go on in that year. And I love that book to bits. It's got so much emotional depth to it, and it didn't brush over the difficulties, but I felt like its overall message was really strong. So for me, comparing that with this book seems really immature in comparison, and that is to do with the age, as in the female character in this book is 15. She doesn't have the emotional maturity of the 18-year-old characters in Dear Nobody, so I get that. But to me, I loved the way that there was an emotional depth to that novel that I just didn't feel here. I felt like one criticism of the book that I've come across is that there's no character development, and I did feel like that was a bit valid, because the character Hannah is dealing throughout with the issue of being pregnant. She doesn't massively deal with the other issues that are going on in her life. Her relationship with her dad is just dead on arrival, and she just accepts that, really. And she has this really problematic relationship with her ex-best friend, who sort of turns against her and does all these horrible things, and that's never really resolved either. I don't feel Hannah as a character ever really confronts her flaws, and I don't feel like she overcomes them. She battles on through the novel, but I don't think we really get a sense of why she's battling, what's driving her, because her gran tells her she's strong, but I'm not sure we see her strength, only that she's stubbornly determined to do things her own way, perhaps. So in that sense, I didn't feel like there was massive change in anyone, and maybe that's why I felt a little bit empty at the end. One reviewer wrote that, you know, whereas in YA fiction, teenagers can be immature and irresponsible because that's what they are in real life, but if you're going to present them as having loving, caring, responsible adults in their lives, like parents, then those characters need to be right. Those characters need to do their job well. And that person said how, you know, because we never saw any of the fallout, any of the aftermath of the revelation of who the father of the baby was, that we never really saw her parents being good parents and intervening and helping her and supporting her with that particular issue. They were supportive of her, but I mean with that specific issue with the stepbrother. I feel like what I wanted more of in this book, I wanted more sense of how hard it is to make that decision to keep the baby, more motivation and more reasons why, and then a more responsible handling of the issue of consent, the issue of rape, the issue of parental responsibility, and the issue of incest. And I think those are pretty big things. So I would really hesitate to recommend this book for teenagers to read, and perhaps for older teenagers, they would see through the situations and question a lot of the things that happen. For maybe younger, more impressionable teenagers, I don't think this would be a good read for them. If you like my reviews, please hit subscribe, and thank you so much for your support.